Hey YouTube, here I have a gigantic folding knife. This is the Cold Steel Counterpoint XL. All right, and just to show you how large this is the Counterpoint 1. All right, it's the, this has a 6-inch blade, and then this has a 4-inch blade, and I have the smallest one as well, which has a 3-inch blade. Okay. So I have the whole set now, all right, and this, this is just, it is a huge freaking knife. All right, and the whole set opened up. Now, just look how much bigger it is even than the medium-sized one. Now, for these three knives, I think the smallest one is your EDC type knife, meaning an everyday utility knife. I know, that very pointed tip, you might not think of that as utility, but actually it is pretty useful for utility in terms of starting cuts. The medium length one with a 4-inch blade, that's half and half. It's good for utility. It's also good for tactical usage, last ditch. I know a lot of gun owners on here that have one, and that's exactly how they use it. Now, the XL, I'm not going to pretend that it's for utility. That's pretty much of the bunch. It's wholly given over to the tactical use. However, a lot of people are just going to buy this for the novelty sake of it. And, there's nothing wrong with that. The fact is most knife companies don't go this big. So Cold Steel kind of has this category. They just have their way with this category. They have it all to themselves. Who doesn't like big steel? Just like who doesn't like large calibers in terms of firearms? You might not carry an elephant gun everywhere you go, but they're still pretty cool. So same idea here. Okay, let's make this comparison a little bit more fair. We have the Cold Steel holdout. This is the largest rendition of the holdout with the 6-inch blade. Okay, so these are both 6-inch blades, and they are basically around the same size. Holdout is slightly longer in overall length, but only slightly. They're comparable. And one big question people are going to ask, which one should I get? I think a lot of people are going to lean towards the Counterpoint because people are really afraid of not having a guard. And you see the shape of the handle on the Counterpoint has a little guard built in. But I gotta say that the handle on the holdout, it flares out, and it might just look like a gradual flare, but that combined with the texture of the G10, extremely grippy. Some have called it pocket shredder, okay? That holdout has a better, stronger grip than it might look. Also, the advantage of the holdout with that full flat grind, it's a better slicer. They're both good. If you like one, you're going to like the other, so get them both. Which one should you get first? That's really up to you, but both excellent in this extra large category. Okay, and you want to see it in hand? Well, there it is. Yeah, if you have large hands, no problem. If you have extra large hands, no problem. If you have XXL hands, no problem. If you have XXXXL hands, still no problem. Basically, if you're a giant, still no problem. Yeah, it is a huge freaking knife. And look at you can choke down for, it's a 6-inch blade, but you got a lot of extra inches in handle. It has the reach of a freaking 10-inch fixed blade, really. And how sharp is it? So glad you asked. It's pretty sharp, especially for, it has that center line there, so you don't really have a very wide grind area to work with. It's kind of like a dagger, but yeah, look at that. Yeah, Cold Steel is known for doing a good job with initial sharpness. You don't expect this to be as sharp as it is when you see something of that blade shape. you think piercing, but cold steel does not accept that. This is a piercer, but also a slicer, and it's so big. I mean, I normally wouldn't say this about a folding knife, but this could also just be a chopper as well, a chopper. All right, let's take a look at the construction. Closed construction. This material is Griv-Ex. All right, that's one of Cold Steel's favorite materials. You know, it's just a very tough synthetic material, essentially. It has the triad lock, one of the strongest types of lock you can get on a folding knife. A skeletonized handle for lightness, and also improves your grip, right? Because your fingertips can tend to find those. You see the pocket clip there. All right, it can be switched to that side as well. So 2-position pocket clip. Now this weighs 8 ounces. It sounds like a lot for a folder, but when you consider how freaking huge this is, 8 ounces really is not bad for something of this size. So how is the opening on this? Well, you know, it's as it's as good as it can be. You know, well, I can't just flick it open. Maybe you can, but I can't just flick it open because, well, here's the thing. With a knife of this size, you know, you're going to have a relatively long distance between the pivot and the thumb stud. You know, dual thumb studs as your openers. And because of that distance, you know, it depends how long your thumb is as far as if that's easy. If your thumb is too short, you know, as you're opening it, right, you're kind of having to reach more. All right, so, you know, it's not like a small knife that you can just flick open easily, but you kind of got to accept that if you have a gigantic folder. As far as the lockup, it's rock solid. You notice I moved my fingers out of the way. It's rock solid. If you ever see me keep my fingers in the way, well, then you'll know that it's really, really rock solid. But no, nothing is that solid. But no, if I press on this, yeah, it's solid. There's no blade play. This is where this knife is a lot better than the Ti-Lite series, because I've heard from so many people saying that their Ti-Lite has blade play. Okay, I've also had like 3 dozen people ask me to review like the largest Ti-Lite. Look, I'm not gonna get the Ti-Lite because I'm not gonna get such a long, thin knife that's known for blade play. I'm just not gonna do it. So I would recommend, you know, this knife. I think it can do everything the Ti-Lite can and more. Now here's a look at the insides of the knife. You can see the skeletonized liners there. Now, what about disengaging this? Well, when I first got this, it was like impossible to disengage. Like I would press on it, and I basically had to like hold it upside down and press like this. But since then, it's broken in. So now I have no trouble. Okay, so if it's hard to disengage in the beginning, don't worry. It breaks in. All right. Oops. Oh, now it's doing it again. Yeah, you see that? It's not disengaging. Gotta push it like that. Damn. Yeah, so you get the idea. It needs some breaking in. And it can be difficult to disengage. I don't know what's doing that. Hold on. Let's compare it to this. Alright, so that's pretty normal. You gotta push it way freaking down to disengage these triad locks on these XL sized folders. One more time, will it work? Nope. Alright, so the disengaging is not the best. Deployment is pretty good. There you go. There. Now it works again. Yeah, so the disengaging kind of spotty. Sometimes you really have to push. But yeah, I mean, total pocket sword, this thing. Pocket sword. Just a tactical beast. Okay, so my final thoughts. Well, like I said, the lockup, very secure, no blade play. That's definitely a step up from the Ti-Lite, which I would see as its predecessor. It also has a more broad geometry and a broader spear point tip than the Ti-Lite. I think that's good because it makes the tip stronger, but it's still going to be plenty pointed enough for all your, all your tactical dreams to come true. It's big steel. It's a badass knife. It's not really a utility knife. Most people are just going to buy it for coolness factor. And at $75, that's a pretty reasonable price for a large knife. The medium-sized one goes for, what, about $40? Again, pretty reasonable. And as far as the tactical use, a triad lock is what you want if you're forced to resort to a folder in that situation. I mean, look, the thing is a razor-sharp pocket sword with extreme piercing ability and a ton of reach. So yeah, I do think it lives up to Cold Steel's claims as far as the tacticalness. I don't need something like this. I'm not going to carry this, but it's interesting, being a gear reviewer. I hear from people all over the world. I heard from a guy who told me that the town he was born in Scotland, is the most dangerous town in terms of statistics, in terms of crime, violent assaults, like per capita. It is the most dangerous town in all of Great Britain. So if you're born in some place like that, who knows? You might need all the weaponry you can get, and here's hoping that you never have to need something like this. But it's pretty cool anyway. This has been We All Juggle Knives. Hope you enjoyed the video.